Hi everyone, and thanks to everyone for joining, especially to Mark for taking time out of his busy schedule, and Tara and Kathy and Johnny and Julia, to just take time out to discuss this importance of banning the importation of fracked gas. And of course, we should always remember the volunteers and campaigners here in Ireland and abroad who continue this fight, and without them, we wouldn't be having this discussion today. It wouldn't be front and centre on the programme for government. So we can never forget those, the campaigners. So, as you know, the background, the last year Ireland declared a climate and biodiversity emergency. We banned fracking 3 years ago. So as far as we're concerned, it'd be utterly hypocritical to be importing this filthy fossil fuel, having banned it in our country. Because we know that fracking is one of the most environmentally harmful methods of gas extraction. But of course, we want to keep everything in the ground. That is our mantra. Shannon LNG in particular, that was one that was front and centre in the last few years, because it would lock us into dependence on fossil fuel for decades to come. And the proposed LNG facility there would be a massive deep water terminal in the Shannon Estuary on Ireland's beautiful west coast, capable of docking the world's largest. But we don't want these terminals anywhere at all. We simply cannot stand idly by. We have a duty in Ireland as well to make sure we're not facilitating companies to exploit communities across the waters. Communities who informed us when we were banning fracking in our own country, and informed us of the experts there of the damage it does. So, and helped us in that campaign. So there's a duty of care to our friends and communities across the water who are suffering. We don't want to import it at their expense either, as well as the issue of keeping fossil fuel in the ground. So as far as we're concerned, we need to stand up and say no, never, ever, to any investment or any importation of any form of fossil fuel infrastructure. So that brings us to the negotiations of the programme for government. I was the lead negotiator for the Green Party. And of course, there were numerous issues that were high priority for us, but we did see an opportunity to rule this out once and for all in the programme for government, to rule out the importation of fracked gas. And we fought for this all through the negotiations, right up until the very last day. We were fighting for this. With the other two parties. And, with advice from campaigners and legal advice, we saw that it needs to be a two-pronged approach in the wording in the programme for government. First of all, to address Shannon LNG, we needed to be removed from the project of common interests, because inclusion on that list gives access to streamlined planning and permission process, as well as the eligibility to multi-billion euro funding. But we also knew that this issue was bigger than Shannon. And the last programme for government, a government that we weren't part of, actually had in its programme for government support for a terminal. So we knew then that we needed to do the opposite and express no support for any such thing and withdraw support from the importation of fracked gas. And the advice we got was that would need to be done in developing a policy statement. That was the cast iron lock on this. So the agreed wording says that we'll withdraw the Shannon LNG terminal from the EU projects of common interest list, and that the programme for government also states, there's wording there, that we do not support the importation of fracked gas and shall develop a policy statement to establish that approach. So that's what we got into the programme for government. Now, I have to call out the elephant in the room tonight, which is, of course, the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar. His comments over the weekend have been really unhelpful to this entire process. And see, I don't know how to diplomatically put it, but the other two parties we negotiated this deal with, they were not comfortable with the wording that we sought and got eventually into programme for government. especially the we do not support the importation of fracked gas and shall develop a policy statement on this approach. But we fought hard and we got it there, and we got the three parties to agree this. So unfortunately, comments and media appearances by various elected members of these parties over recent days cast doubt over the strength of the agreed wording on the LNG. So it just goes to show there's a resistance there all along the way, even though we have it in the programme for government. So, and to be honest, their comments made me feel uneasy too. But I can, to everyone who's here, rest assured, if the members vote these three parties into government, so if our members make a decision to put us into government with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, we will continue that fight, and we will make it happen. And Eamon has clarified the Green Party's position just a few hours ago on foot of some of the comments over the weekend, and has clarified by confirming to campaigners, stating that if the Green Party are in government, we will implement the policies which will see an end to the importation of fracked gas via any LNG terminal. And, you know, the truth is we have much better energy alternatives available. And the truth is we will do that, but also look after those communities and make sure there's a just transition for those communities, because there are alternatives. So, and that's our responsibility as well, to look after these communities, to provide sustainable employment and provide that energy alternative that doesn't damage our environment. And that's part of our approach too, and that's something that we are committed to. So I guess that just summarises the last few weeks and the Green Party's position on this. Thank you.
Asking why was decided the particular wording that in the programme for government, that it was decided to include a policy statement indication that we don't support the importation of fracked gas, instead of stating in the programme for government that we would introduce legislation to ban importation of fracked gas. I don't know if you want to answer that question to Julie.
That was the advice I got from several experts, that the policy would be enough, and that the minister then would be able to stop any developments. So, for example, say in Cork, because the Port of Cork, I've seen legal advice that the minister, because it's sort of under their remit, could say no. There's a memorandum of understanding there, but it has to adhere with government policy. And that was the advice I was given by several campaigners, and they had received legal advice. So that's what was repeated to me over and over, that get that policy statement, especially because the last programme for government had the statement saying the opposite. We support these terminals and this infrastructure, so we were to do the opposite. That's what we did. But, no, the comments over the weekend show how much we need to keep fighting for this. If we are to go in, and maybe if a department that's in charge of this is under our remit, we need to look at legislation then. But that's to be examined. But the key thing was the policy ask from the campaigners.
Okay.
I'll finish as I started by saying thank you to, as Johnny said, the activists and the campaigners. And thanks to Tara and Kathy and Mark, Johnny and Julie for joining us tonight. A few things that struck me today was that the fear in me when I heard that you know, we could become a gateway, Ireland, for this filthy fossil fuel. So we have a responsibility to stop that. Just to say in relation to that policy statement and why we fought so hard for it, that, you know, as I was negotiating it, the resistance to the actual policy from the other two parties demonstrated to me how key it was to get the policy into that. That's what they were resisting so hard, and that was really what the big fight was about. That showed to me that was key. I think it might have been Julia that said, you know, that change in demand for oil and gas at the minute, because of COVID, and we need to lock this down right now, and that's where the opportunity lies. Let's finish it off, you know. Close it with cast iron shut, and no to fracked gas, no to the terminals, no to importing it, and also you know, this the communities that we have to look after. I think, Mark, you mentioned the impact on the communities, especially near the well sites, and how money is put above the welfare of people, and we have to keep we have to watch out for those communities. But as I said earlier, we also have to look out for the just transition for the other communities who feel they're being left behind, and that there was an opportunity for them here. And we have to show them there's another way, and that we are all in this together. And there's a way of fighting to protect your environment, but fighting to protect communities, and building on that. And just transition is key to all of that. So just say that we're fighting for all the communities in this, and making sure there's a just transition, fighting for the health of the communities that are so badly impacted in places like Pennsylvania, but also for the communities who feel they're being left behind if we're shutting this down, but showing them there is another way, there's a better way for your communities in the long run. That's the healthier way for your environment and for your families. Thanks.
Okay.